You're welcome. It's almost your birthday, huh?
Yeah,
Oh, I
Sunday.
can't wait. Oh, I can't. Oh, it's Doug Lyle's birthday too. No wonder I love you. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today has been on the show before. He's always a delight. He's known as the most organized man in America, and he has an offer for you that you can't resist because it's like less than the price of a cup of coffee. It's called the De-Stress Your Mess Challenge. And I've taken it, my sister's taken it, lots of friends have taken it. It will change your life. It will rock your world. And he's here to talk about why is the right time and the best time to declutter your house. Because when you do that, you declutter your life. Please welcome back Andrew Mellen. It's so great to see you again.
Thanks, Chef. It's great to be with you. And yeah, I'm just super psyched to be with you. And I'm delighted to share the De-Stress Your Mess Challenge. And I'm so glad that you and your peeps, right, have taken it. And it's the perfect way to just kickstart everything.
You know, a lot of people say, oh, but the holidays are coming up. Yeah, declutter now. I mean, you're going to get so much more crap during the holidays. Isn't it nice that you can make a space for it?
Oh, I know. It's people. There's always a good reason why now is not the time. And yet they are completely content to complain about the misery, right? It's like, it's such a funny construct when you look at it objectively. When you're in it, you have no objectivity and you believe the story you're telling yourself of like, no, I am totally committed to this. It's just not the right time. I will do it, later. I'll do it someday. I'll do it 3 weeks from Thursday, whatever the story is. And the reality is that it's never going to be more convenient or less convenient than right now. Yeah. I mean, there are a few, like if you're having surgery tomorrow, that would be an actual exemption, but barring, or you're going to a funeral, or a wedding. But other than those kinds of things, there will always be something happening in your life that the story will tell you it should take precedence. And then when you've cleaned the slate, then you'll be able to start fresh. But the reality is that we're never going to get to zero. There's always going to be a demand on your attention. There's always going to be something competing for your time. And if you don't make it a priority, the alternative is, again, as I said, just living with the misery in the current situation. If you do what you usually do, you'll get what you usually get. If you don't like what you usually get, the only way you're going to get something else is to do something else. Right? You're not gonna plan your way out of clutter, or it's funny.
Yeah. It's funny because the only time is now, by the way, and that's the only time there is, just so everyone knows. And I always find that there's some parallels in our work, which is why I'm so excited about being at Rancho La Puerta with you next year when I have a private group, because hopefully we can do something together, because I've been hearing the same thing. I've been teaching programs to help people lose weight and get healthy for over 10 years. And I keep thinking of this individual, oh, it's, not the right, she always has an excuse. And each year she's gained 10 or 20 pounds. And I'm thinking like, you have to wait till you gain another 100 for it to be the right time. It's never going to be the right time. That's the thing. This is the time. So I think it's so interesting. And it's funny because I have your voice in my head. I didn't read your book. I listened to it on Audible. And my husband tends to be a procrastinator. And what's interesting is right before we logged on, I knew it was your birthday soon, that you were a Virgo. I forgot that it was Sunday, the same day as my other friend, Dr. Doug Lyle, who basically says that the reason a lot of people procrastinate is there's a hope that then maybe they won't have to ever do it. And, so my husband's a big procrastinator. So, whenever he says, well, I'll do it later, I'll go, no, Andrew says it's now. I put it on you. I go, no, Andrew says we have to do it now. And so when you save so much time, if you just do it on the front end, like looking for your keys or whatever, even though it might seem inconvenient, unless you're like you say, going to a funeral or catching a plane, take the time. Like I'll do that all the time. Like I'll throw my towel on the floor because I'm running late for the show. And I'll say, you know what, I'm just going to take 30 seconds. If I'm 30 seconds less late for the guest, so be it. But you're right. Like the best time to do things is now, not later.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, not defer, people. So tell us about this challenge, because it's super fun. I took it actually when you had it the first time. I was actually at Rancho La Puerta.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So the De-Stress Your Mess Challenge, 5 days, $1. And I love that people, the world is the world and Facebook is Facebook, and people post comments like, it can't really be $1. This has got to be a scam. There's got to be something. It's like, there is no scam. I'm a legitimate person. We don't get access to your credit card information. It either goes through Stripe or it goes through PayPal. It's $1. And the irony, of course, people think like, I want the dollar. If you pay with PayPal, and I'm happy for you to use PayPal, if you pay with PayPal, I actually get 48 cents. PayPal eats 52 of the cents. So I'm not getting rich on your dollar. The dollar is for you, the participant. What we know from human psychology is that you are 3 times more likely to show up and do the work when you have the investment. I already have the investment. I'm showing up, and I'm the most organized man in America. My home, I don't need the De-Stress Your Mess Challenge for me. I'm doing it as a service to introduce this work to other people. And so you put the buck down so that you show up, because it doesn't really matter whether I charge you $1 or I charge you $50. Any skin in the game, psychologically, it's the funny thing about, again, us as humans, right? We're not that complex. We think that we're so sophisticated, and it really doesn't matter. The trigger is the trigger. So $1, $50, you'll still show up because now you have this mental understanding of like, oh, I've invested. I don't want to waste my dollar. I better show up. And I'm completely transparent about it. It's not like I don't say it over and over again. I want you to show up. If you're one of those people who likes to raise your hand and say, yes, I need this, or yes, I'm ready to get organized, or yes, I'm tired of the clutter and the disorganization and being late. I want to change my life. I want to do everything I can to support you in making those changes. And if that means asking you for $1 so that you'll show up and do the work, I'll ask you for the buck. It's simple. 5 nights. We meet Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. You can do the math on your time zone. And we cover all the major clutter hotspots. We look at papers and filing. We look at clothes and closets, and all the closets, not just the clothes closets, right? Linen closets, utility closets, all of them. We look at kitchens, pantries, right? And I should talk to you. It might not be time, right? Because it's just occurring to me, but I should have you on as a guest for when we do the kitchens and the pantry, and have you be like a surprise secret guest who drops in on that night. It would be awesome.
Yeah.
You can help people from your point of view, and we can still give them the content that we're giving them. It'd be awesome to do that. So we look at the kitchen, we look at the pantry, we look at sentimental objects, which is another place that people are super sticky. And then we look at the 3 things that people are typically doing unconsciously, sometimes consciously, but mostly unconsciously, that are actively preventing them from getting and staying organized. And I know that the Weisenheimers in the group always are like, oh, I know what those are. And I'm going to tell you, you have no idea what they are. I promise, if you've not done the challenge before, you will be surprised when you discover what those 3 things are. And they are the keys to setting yourself free from your old way of thinking about, feeling about, and interacting with stuff.
Yeah. If people have done the challenge before, would it behoove them to do it again?
Oh, always. I mean, we have lots of repeat people, because wherever you're at in that arc, right? I mean, 5 days, look, it's 5 days with me live, because it's not we record it if you can't make it live, but it's 5 days live with me. It's a great shot in the arm, a kick in the pants, however you want to think about it. If you've been treading water, if you've backslid a little bit, it's a great opportunity for $1 to get that jolt and get re-energized. Because when you think about it, right, when we've got 2,000 to 3,000 people signing up for this challenge at a time, and everybody's live on Zoom, that energy, in the same way that if you've ever meditated with people, even if they're in other parts of the country, right, on those days when it's national or international meditation day, and people are meditating in India and Japan and Africa and North America and South America, you're not all in the same space, but energetically you can feel, when you sit down and everybody else is sitting down, something is happening. It is that collective unconscious that we are all a part of. And it's the same thing here. People are all over the world, literally, while we're doing this challenge. And something about being together in the space at the same time live gives you that extra jolt and that extra boost of enthusiasm and momentum. So yes, I mean, for $1, it's worth doing it again.
Absolutely. Elizabeth says she doesn't have PayPal. Is Venmo okay?
Ooh, it's just, so what we tell people, which I know is not convenient, but like a disposable Visa gift card, if you don't use PayPal and you don't have a credit card that you want to use, get a disposable gift card and take the buck off of that. We are not set up to be able to process payments through Venmo. Having asked the question, I will park it and I will take it back to the team and see if there's a way in the future that we could accept payments through Venmo. But right now, we're only set up for either credit cards or debit cards, or PayPal.
Got it. Thank you. Well, I mean, yeah, I think you're right, though. When people pay, they pay attention because they have a little skin in the game, even though it is only $1.
Yeah, we used to do this when we first started doing the challenges. It was free, and we would get 10,000 people raising their hand, and then 2,000 would show up. Where are the other 8,000 people? They raised their hand. They must have identified something about the program that had value for them, enough to raise their hand, but not enough to show up. So if the difference between showing up and not showing up is $1, I vote for the $1, because I just want you to be there. It doesn't serve me. First of all, I don't want to talk to myself. And second of all, if you need this information, if you want this information, if you're ready to kickstart your decluttering process, this is the perfect opportunity.
Yeah. Susanna is saying, I'm cleaning up my computer desk while listening. Andrew's so convincing.
Awesome.
You know, Andrew, I always have told people that the process of losing weight and maintaining weight loss are actually two distinctly different processes. And I'm curious, when it comes to decluttering, is getting organized and staying organized the same thing, or are they different things? And
they're related, but you're spot on. So we've got the organizational triangle, which I created, which is one home for everything,
like with like, one
something in,
something out. Yeah,
exactly. And so when we think about the triangle, the first two legs of the triangle, one home for everything and like with like, is how we get organized. Something in, something out is how we stay organized. So everything has one home, only one home. I don't care where that home is. Where you keep your keys can be different from where I keep my keys, but your keys have a home. My keys have a home. They're either in our hand unlocking something, they're in their home. They can only ever be one of two places. Like with like means all like objects live together, not most of them. So instead of playing games with yourself about like, oh, I'm going to put most of the office supplies here, but I'm going to keep my Post-its in this little cubby over here, squirreled away, because every time I go to get a Post-it, they're gone. And so this is my secret little way of instead of addressing the subject directly and saying, hey, who's taking my Post-its? I'll buy you Post-its, leave my Post-its alone. You now have your little workaround that you think, but then when you go to look for them, they're not where all the other office supplies are. So now you can't find them, right? Because you're not going to remember your secret little workaround. So one home for everything and like with like is how we get organized. And that's the only two rules that you need to know to get organized. Once everything has a home and all of its siblings are together with it, you are organized. Now, to stay organized, you have to maintain that, which just means when something new comes in, it must be because you're ready to retire something. This is another one of those funny things, right? It's how many people say, oh, I have too much to do and not enough time. And then in the same day, they will say, oh, I have 15 minutes to kill. You don't have enough time to do everything that matters to you, but you've got 15 minutes to murder in the middle of your day. Instead of doing that, what could you do in 15 minutes to actually move something forward for yourself? 15 minutes is not something that you want to throw in the garbage. There's a statistic that says the average person will waste 1 year of their life looking for lost or misplaced items. And it doesn't, of course, nobody's going to spend a year of their life looking for their mobile phone or their keys. You'll call the locksmith. You'll go to the mobile phone store. You'll get a new phone. It's nickel and diming ourselves out of a year of our life. It's 5 minutes here. It's 10 minutes there. You'll tell yourself one of those 200 lies that, oh, I'm going to make up the lost time. And as you pointed out at the very beginning of our conversation, now is the only moment that actually exists. You can't make up lost time. Once it's been spent, it is gone. The clock resets itself. Tomorrow's another day. You don't get those 5, 10, 15 minutes back. So if you chose to throw them away because you were unconsciously not valuing them, that's, I think, a huge wake-up call to start to recognize these 24 hours are all you have to work with. So if you I don't like the word squander because I don't really want to judge it, right? But if you don't spend it with intention, if you aren't super clear about the choices that you're making and you allow it to drip through your fingers, and then at the end of the day, you think, crap, my God, I was crazy busy today. I got nothing done. Wouldn't we like to end that pattern of behavior? I mean, if you wake up tomorrow morning and you think it's going to be different just because you want it to be different, but you don't have a strategy for it to be different, it's likely to be the same. And that would be a shame if that's not what you want.
Right. One of the live viewers is saying they think that PayPal allows you to check out as a guest. So if that's the case, that would be very easy.
Cool.
Yeah, nice. And let's see. Oh, Louise says, I've taken the challenge before, even before the dollar offer. It was really helpful. You know, it's so funny because I'm organizing I'm moving. And so somebody was helping me unbox and they go, okay, where should I put this? And I go, well, I'm deciding. She goes, well, where's your junk drawer? I go, there is not going to be a junk drawer. No junk drawer, this house.
Yeah, let's not live with junk, right? I mean, again, words have power. And why would you deliberately live with junk? It's just so funny. And you can play funny games with yourself. You can spell it Junque as if that's funny. Junk is junk. And why would you bring junk into your home? And why would you create a totem to junk? Why would you dedicate a specific area in your home to miscellaneous things that you haven't made decisions about? Make the decisions. What is it like? Where do the bread twist ties go? Where do the old batteries go? Where does the leftover IKEA hardware go? Where do your carry-out food menus go? Find a home for them. Don't just defer the decision and then just throw them in a drawer.
Absolutely. So Apple, who's watching live, has a question.
Please.
I share an art studio with others. I'm tidy and some of the others are messy. Any tips for getting them to cooperate, or is it me to accept? Is it up to me to accept it?
Yeah, it's there's the fork in the road is really, if you have a common problem, you can find a common solution. If you don't have a common problem, you sadly have the problem. So the beginning of the conversation or the exploration is to talk to your studio mates and say, hey, does anybody else have any challenges with how we're sharing the space, being able to find things when we're looking for them? Is anybody else feeling the crunch around time or organization? And if people say, yeah, now that you mention it, I have thought that things could be better arranged, or the common areas could be this way, or it's been on my mind, I just haven't articulated it. Then you can start to work on a common solution. Then you can say, awesome, we all agree there's a problem. Let's try to solve it. How can we arrange the space so that everybody feels like their space is organized and tidy for them, and the common areas also work for all of us? But if everybody says, nah, I'm fine, you're a little uptight, and the way that I work is fine, I don't need it to be any different, then it does, sadly, whatever, it's your problem, and you just need to find the way to accept it, or go find a art studio mates who are more aligned with you and your values. That becomes the pivot for you, is either go, birds of a feather will flock together. You'll go find other artists to collaborate, to share space with, who function more like you, or you'll just suck it up and deal with it.
Great. Let's see if there's any more questions. Live. Susanna's giving the information. Great. It's in the chat and it's in the show notes. Are there people for whom just they don't get this ever and they just will always live in chaos? Or do you think it's learnable to everyone, this skill?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's three rules. There's three principles that you need to get. I think anybody can get organized, and I think anybody can stay organized if you're willing to look at how you think about, feel about, and interact with stuff. If you're not willing to examine those things, then you are possibly destined to do what you usually do and get what you usually get. If you're willing to be willing, then anything is possible. And I've worked with people who have hoarding disorders. I've worked with people with ADHD. I've worked with the highly sensitive people. I've worked with lots of people. I've worked with people on the autism spectrum. I've worked with lots of people who are neurodivergent, and they can get these principles and live differently if they are open to changing, right? And I'm not changing you. I'm giving you some tools. I'm giving you some techniques. I'm giving you some hacks, and you're applying them in the way that they resonate with you, and you can find your way through them. And none of it's complicated. I mean, that's the other thing, right? I mean, getting organized, one home for everything and like with like, this is not rocket science. We're not building a spaceship. We're just basically sequestering common items together, and we're finding a space large enough for all of them to live harmoniously next to each other. If when you're trying to apply the organizational triangle and you're trying to pack a bunch of things into a space that is too small for them, you have two choices at that point. You either have fewer things that will fit in the space that you want it to be in, or you need to find a different home. That isn't the home for those things because they won't all fit there. Once you start to split them apart, right? And you think like, oh, I'll remember these things are over here, but those things are over there. They belong together. You want only one home. You don't, everything that you try to remember is wasted brain energy. Understand that our brains have been designed over millions of years, or at least thousands of years, to do two things: keep us alive and conserve energy. So anytime you are trying to figure something out and expending energy, part of your body is resisting that and saying, whoa, 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 what happens if there's a nuclear holocaust tomorrow? I don't want to be spending my time trying to remember where we put the coffee cups because they're in 3 different locations in the house. I want to go one place and have everything be there and available for me. If I have to remember, that's energy, mental energy that you can't apply someplace else. And again, this is all about life administration and life skills. There are much more significant, I don't want to say more important, but if you think about your values, each of us, our values, in my world, functioning comfortably in the world is important. But my relationships, like my relationship with you, AJ, my relationships with other people that I love, my friends, my family, even my students, the more time for me to spend doing my work and the things that feed my spirit, so much more meaningful to me than wasting a certain amount of time trying to remember, like, where did I put so-and-so? The whole benefit of this methodology is you don't have to spend time remembering it. It's right where you put it. And it's an organically aligned place for you. My keys live in a rice bowl by my front door. Some people hang them on a hook. Some people keep them, in a drawer, in a dish. It doesn't matter where the home is. It just has to be consistently the home that you've established. What I will say about keys specifically is dropping them randomly on a surface, not a home. So you do want them to be in a vessel, whether that's a tray or a bowl. When I go to my mom's house, the first thing I do when I walk into her house, she's got a little mud room, and then there's the kitchen. So the first thing I do when I walk in the house is go and I get a big soup bowl and I put it on the kitchen counter and I empty my pockets in it. So my keys go there, my wallet goes there, my chapstick goes there, any paper money and coins that are in my pocket go there. And I've established the home as soon as I get to my mom's house, right? I don't live there, but that's my routine. So now I know where my stuff is, because I don't really want to walk around the house with all that crap in my pockets. If I sit down on the sofa, I don't want it to fall out of my pockets. So that becomes the home. So it doesn't matter what you use, but make sure it is a container rather than you just toss them on the kitchen counter, because then they could end up under the newspaper or some mail or a cookbook or anything. And then you'll wonder, like, I thought my keys were here. Where are they?
Yeah. Well, I have a dilemma because where I'm going to be moving, the front door and the garage, they're not near each other. And so do I make my key placeholder by the front door, which I sometimes use when I walk my dog Bailey, or by the garage where, I can't decide because I don't want to be, what do you do? Make an extra set of keys in a case like that?
I mean, you could, although that doesn't seem necessary. I would say once you are there, pay attention to which door you use more frequently, what you would consider to be the primary door, right? Maybe what you discover is that you'll take Bailey out the garage, right? You'll open the garage door and you'll take him out that way, so that, because if you're driving more than walking Bailey, then maybe the garage door becomes the primary door. But instead, if what you're doing is going out the front door more often, and you're just going out into the garage once a day, or maybe once every 3 days when you're getting in your car, the front door will be your door. And then you'll just remember, oh, before I leave, I have to go to the front door, get my keys, and then that's where and that will become, it's not something that you'll have to remember. You'll develop the muscle of, you'll only go to the garage a couple of times expecting the keys to be there, seeing that they're not there, and then you'll build that pattern of behavior and it will become a habit. I mean, that is what the habit is. So again, that doesn't eat up any brain fuel because it's just become ingrained in us. We don't think about how to tie our shoes anymore. We don't think about how to brush our teeth or floss our teeth anymore. We don't think about how to do up a zipper or buttons anymore. It's just become a habit that if we're putting on a shirt with buttons, this is how you can have a conversation with somebody and do a button. You don't really need to be spending a lot of energy remembering how to button a button, right? I mean, God forbid you have Alzheimer's, it's a different thing. Your keys are not going to be the most important problem at that point.
Right. I was just wondering. Hey,
yeah.
So Pat says, I have almost no energy in the evening to organize and leave dishes undone for a couple days. To organize, and I leave dishes undone for a couple days. How can I get energy? Lighting, open windows, take a walk.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And what I will say to you is that in the unstuffed world in our community, we have a thing called one more thing. #one more thing. And so it becomes a bit of a game to figure out, is there one more thing you can do before the end of the day? It doesn't need to be, if you are prone to being a people pleaser or a bit of a martyr and depleting all of your energy, this is an opportunity for you to pay attention. If instead you're just like, oh, I'm so tired, but you could do something else. What we often will encourage people to do is just take the dishes out of the sink and put them in the dishwasher, or wash the dishes. Do one more thing. You don't have to do all the more things. Just do one more thing. The beautiful thing is that a body at rest tends to stay at rest. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. Once you can turn the corner and get into motion, one more thing could become one more thing after one more thing, and then one more thing after that. So that soon you'll see that, oh, you were able to muster without messing up your sleep cycle, right? We're not talking about you're not going to suddenly start to build a guest wing or, renovate your bathroom. You're just putting the dishes in the dishwasher, or you're doing a couple of dishes before you go to bed. But that's what I would encourage you to do, Pat, is grab onto one more thing and see what you can do to move that forward.
Great. Thank you. Susanna, who's watching live, says, does Andrew have any suggestions about where to start as a 55-year-old mother with 8 children, 6 of them still living there, and all the years of clutters and memories and question mark.
Yeah, well, I would certainly say come join us on Monday, because I think the mindset piece, it's the most important place to start for anybody at any time, right? You have to be able to address how you think about, feel about, and interact with stuff. And you have 8 kids, 6 of whom are living with you. You've got a lot of story. There's a lot of attachment to the belongings in the home. You've got, as you said, 35 years worth of accumulation. Your feelings are not going to inform your behavior or your choices. There's a circle, there's a diagram that we use. Your thinking at the top of the circle informs your feelings. Your feelings inform your actions inform your results. Your results inform your thinking. So if you think about it, no pun intended, right? If your thinking is a little wobbly, you're going to feel kind of crappy or wobbly or beat up. If you feel not at the top of your game, you're going to get mediocre results. You're going to take mediocre actions. If you take mediocre actions, you're going to get mediocre results. Those results will reinforce the limited beliefs that you have about, well, I can't, or there's too many kids, or there's too much stuff, or there's too whatever, ... fill in the blank. And this is a vicious cycle that goes around and around. So if we can address the thinking at the top of the circle, that will change your actions and your feelings, and your feelings will influence your actions. Your actions will yield better results. Those better results will then feed back into your thinking of like, oh, I used to think that it was this, but now I can see that it's that. And it will start to shift your thinking. And then that will again change how you feel, your feelings, your actions, your results. So we want to interrupt it. And the best place to interrupt it is the thinking. The feelings come after the thoughts. So we want to be able to address those. So my invitation to you is double-fold. One is sign up for the challenge, put $1 on the table and see what we can do in 5 days to start to shift your experience of the stuff in your home, because then you'll be able to start to build some momentum as you touch the various types of things, right? The categories of things, because even though, again, in your current worldview, it's 35 years of accumulation, the 35 years of accumulation is actually made up of lots of little individual things that have become 35 years of accumulation, but they are individual pieces of paper and books and tchotchkes and kitchen appliances and kitchen utensils and clothing and shoes and hats and gloves and scarves. And when you can start to see it according to its categories, it will be much easier for you to interact with.
Thank you. Jesse says, can you ask Andrew what his tips are for people who feel so overwhelmed at the thought of organizing that they can't even start?
Right. So you always have two places you can begin. You can either go for a big win or you can go for a fast win. And if you're feeling puny and you're feeling overwhelmed, go for a quick win. So what is something that you can do? Is there a piece of junk mail you can throw in the recycle bin? Is there a leftover piece of plastic that can go in the recycle bin? What can you do to sliding across the surface of your home, find something that you have no attachment to it? I mean, you might have a story about your energy level, but you have no attachment to the item itself, and start there. If you're feeling stronger, which might not apply to you in this moment, but I'm holding out hope that you will feel like a fierce clutter warrior soon enough. But if you are feeling like a fierce clutter warrior, go for the big win. Go to the scary place that has always taunted and overwhelmed you. So if that's that corner in the basement where you've always been just throwing stuff and never looking at it, wherever, if your filing cabinet, your closet, wherever the place is that feels that it's like giving yourself, like an enema, right? Like a clutter enema. You want to go to the place where you're the most compacted and backed up, and you'll get the biggest bang for your buck if you go there. That's not for everybody. If you're not feeling strong, go for a quick win. There's plenty of little things you can do. Once you're looking for them, you'll find them. And as I said, could be a piece of junk mail that you rip up, throw it in the shredder, throw it in the recycle bin. That will get you some momentum.
Thank you very much. Let's see what we have here from the viewers. Oh, Susanna, who you answered her question about the children. She says she is already signed up. So that's great. So tell us the logistics when it starts, what time it is, that kind of thing.
Sure. So we start on Monday night, September the 12th, and we start at 8 p.m. Eastern, and it runs for about an hour. My teaching is an hour. We typically, because I like people, sometimes, we typically hang out afterwards for an informal chat. So people have questions, and while I can't guarantee that every night we run over, there are nights when we will stay in the chat room when people have questions. Sometimes people have questions about some of our programs. Sometimes people have questions about some of the stuff we've talked about. So the formal pedagogy, if you will, it's a 25-cent word, that my teaching is typically from 8 to 9. And sometimes we hang out a little bit earlier, and we always open up the room 15 minutes before. So it's another chance for folks to tell us where they're tuning in from and, to say hello to each other. So the room's open at 7:45 Eastern. So New York time, if you're not in the US. And so you can do the math, 6:45 Central, 5:45 Mountain, no, 5:45 Mountain, 4:45 Pacific. And I'm not sure, I think Hawaii is 3 more hours earlier. And in the UK, 8 p.m. is 1 a.m. and then Central Europe is 2 a.m. So I get that it's early for some folks. I think, and Australia, New Zealand, they're, I think, 12 to 13 hours, maybe 10 to 13 hours ahead of us, depending on, because it's a wide continent. So, but you can do the math, and there's plenty of online clocks where you can figure out what's going on. And so we meet, as I said, I teach live every night. We drill down into there. You get some homework. The homework is not onerous. It's not going to kill you. We're mindful that this is a sampler. So we give you easy to do homework so that somewhere between 15 minutes and an hour, you'll be done with your homework, which you don't have to do that night. I mean, some people are fired up after the time and they will do their homework that night. Other people start their homework the next day. We have a private Facebook group set up just for the challenges. So every time we do the challenge, we have a new Facebook group. That Facebook group opens up on Saturday, the 10th. We don't open it up before. We open the doors and everybody can come in on the 10th of Saturday, on the 10th of September. And if you like Facebook, we've got a group for you. If you don't like Facebook, you can still do the challenge. You don't need to be on Facebook. It's just another place for the community to gather. And I think did I mention that there's a grand prize?
No, you did not.
Oh, so we give away a prize every challenge, and the grand prize is a VIP day with me. I come to you anywhere in the United States and you get 1 day with me on my dime, and we'll do whatever you want to do. I just did one this Monday, Labor Day, up in Northern Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C., and we had a blast. And the winner, she was just on Clubhouse. I do a show every Friday between 12 and 1 Eastern on Clubhouse. And she was on and she was talking about what a great shot in the arm that was for her. And she's loaded up her SUV, I think twice now, to take stuff to the Goodwill. And she was really stuck. Clothes were a thing for her. Well, we spent most of the day in her home office. We did a tour of the entire house and I gave her homework for all the places, but she works from home. So we really drilled down into the home office because she had all kinds of stuff in the office that she never uses in the office, including like an old Electrolux canister vacuum cleaner that was just tucked under her desk. Like, why? How often are you vacuuming this rug that you need the vacuum cleaner at your feet? Because again, psychologically, psychically, energetically, the weight of all that stuff in that space is just bringing her down and impinging on her ability to concentrate and actually do great work. So we totally transformed her home office, and I got some great before and after shots. And then I gave her homework. And so clothes were one of the places that she was really stuck. She's moved into her husband's house, second marriage for both of them. So she moved into the husband's house. He had already been there. He raised his family there. And so she's trying to find her way into the house. It's an older home. I mean, it's not like an old home, but it's an older home. So not massive closets. And so she's trying to figure out how to get all of her clothes into those spaces. And she was really, it's like, she was trying to fit 10 pounds of clothes into a 5-pound closet. And we really just had to get clear, like, you have too many clothes. Your alternative is to buy clothing racks and turn one of these rooms into a closet instead of a guest bedroom, but you can't physically fit the amount of garments that you have in the closets that are built into the house. So you have two choices. You get additional rolling racks and make them portable closets, or you let go of some clothes. And there is a statistic, if you're not familiar with that, if your listeners are not familiar with it, that we wear 20% of our wardrobe 80% of the time. It's another one of those Pareto principles, the 80-20 rule. So 20% of our wardrobe 80% of the time. So if you think about your greatest hits, the garments that you love, that you think you look good in, that you always go to, and then when they're dirty, you start to go to the second tier and the third tier of your clothes. Those clothes, many of them, certainly the third tier and beyond, all of those someday clothes, right? Like if you've lost a lot of weight and you're keeping the moo-moo in the back of the closet just in case you wake up and you weigh 100 pounds more overnight, not going to happen, right? You're going to have to go buy fat jeans before you need the moo-moo again. And by the time you go to buy the first pair of fat jeans at Target or Ross, because you don't want to spend any money on clothes that you don't intend to stay in for a very long period of time, that moo-moo, you're never going to get to the moo-moo. The moo-moo, you can let the moo-moo go. It's not reminding you of what used to be and positively reinforcing you. And conversely, right, people who are holding on to skinny jeans, thinking that that's motivating you to get to lose the weight, it's not. Every time you open the closet and you see them, I promise you that your first reaction is, ugh, I can't fit into those. I'm such a fat slob. I'm whatever the story is that you're telling yourself. The first reaction is not like, that's my target, right? I'm going to go throw the chips in the garbage. I'm fitting in those jeans by the end of the week. It's like, ugh, I'm disgusting. I hate myself. I can't believe that I still can't fit into them. I'm going to go eat my feelings. That's more likely to be what happens than that you're super motivated by the skinny jeans. Let them go. When you drop the weight, when you lose a size, go reward yourself with a new pair of skinny jeans. Much better to be able to fit into them when you own them than to use them as some sort of flagellation device to just make yourself feel crappy every time you open the door. Not a good choice.
Have you ever seen the George Carlin routine, The Importance of Stuff?
I have.
Yeah, I mean, he talks about like how a house is just basically a place for our stuff.
Exactly.
That's
we
hilarious.
just keep building, we need spaces to put our stuff. When we get more stuff, we need more spaces. It's
hilarious.
It is hilarious. And that was what, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. I mean, that routine's a long time.
Just as true today. Sherry says, how does Andrew suggest one might deal with a spouse who doesn't want the other to declutter sentimental items that aren't his? They're mine and I don't want them. Aha.
So your spouse has a point of view about your sentimental objects and doesn't want you letting them go. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's what I'm getting from it. She wants to let it go. It's not his, but he has some sentimentality towards the things she's ready to let go. That happens to me too, because I want to get rid of all my pictures. I mean, I never look at them.
Yeah. Well, you can scan them and then you can get a digital picture frame and then you could see the greatest hits on a rotation for yourself, right? You don't need to keep the pictures themselves. Well, what I would suggest is to have a conversation with your husband, with your partner, and say, I'm ready to let them go. It seems like this is an issue for you. What's going on? What does my letting them go trigger in you? What are you afraid of something? What is it? Do you think that if I can let go of the object, it means that I can let go of you, that I don't have any attachment to you? Let's explore what's going on, because they're not your things, they're my things, but I love you and I don't want to hurt you or hurt your feelings. So let's explore what's going on and see where the tension is, or where the friction is. And let's see what we can do to address that. Honey, I love you.
Honey, I love you. Always preface it with that. Yeah. Like with weight loss, you can't pay somebody to lose weight for you or eat right for you or exercise, but you could ostensibly pay someone to declutter. But if you don't have skin in the game, if you don't do it, do the results last when somebody else is straightening up for you and organizing?
Well, only if they keep coming back, right? I mean, if you want to get into that kind of a dependent relationship where your declutterer, your organizer, is the person who created the system and is maintaining the system, you now have created just a new dependency on that person. So if they're not there to do it, do you know how to sustain the system? Did you decide where the homes for things are? I mean, plenty of people use assistants to do things. You just want to make sure that they're not doing it in your absence and you're checked out from the process. Because again, if you can't maintain the system yourself, it isn't your system, it belongs to somebody else. So then as soon as they stop maintaining the system, the clutter is likely to return. And it just all returns to how you think about, feel about, and interact with the stuff. If those things don't shift, it doesn't really matter who's doing the heavy lifting. You have the same relationship with stuff that you've always had.
Yeah. Somebody's saying they're having trouble signing up. So is there like a customer service number or?
You can certainly send an email to hello, like the word hello, at andrewmellen.com. Mellen is spelled MELLEN.com. So you can certainly send an email to them and they will help you solve that problem. I will say, if you are trying to sign up and you are not filling out the sign up form, if you're thinking that you're just going to bypass that, you can't. We do need to confirm that you're not a bot. So you have to fill out the information. I think it's your first name, your last name, maybe your address. And I don't know if we ask for a phone number, but you have to fill out the form. You can't just slide past the form and pretend that you're not a person, because as you can imagine, in the same way that you might be concerned that we're going to scam you and steal your identity and do something with your information, we're concerned that bots are going to sign up for the program and we're going to have a bunch of spam garbage in our database, which we also don't want. So we need to make sure that only real human beings are signing up for the challenge. So on the registration form, there's two sets of fields, and we do need you to fill out that information. As I said before, we don't retain any of your credit card information. It goes right through Stripe or it goes through PayPal. So there's no hidden charges. You're not signing up for a subscription, and in 30 days, if you don't cancel, we're going to charge you $195 for something. It's $1 one time. So you don't have to worry about that, even though you might. I mean, I can't tell you not worry about it. I can only tell you I'm a person of integrity. We're not going to steal your identity and we're not going to steal your money. So we're just going to process the dollar offsite through a third party, but we need to know that you're a real person. So
how long have you been doing the challenge?
We started the challenge in April of 2020. So just at the beginning of COVID. We had been working on it. We started formulating it in like December of 2019. And that was how long it took us to launch everything. We decided that April, spring cleaning, was the right time to go live for the first time. And that was the very first one. And this is the 8th one that we've done so far.
Well, you think that the pandemic, when so many people were at home, that would have been a perfect time for people to declutter.
It really was magical. I mean, we got some great press at the beginning of the pandemic because, like, the New York Post reached out to me, the Huffington Post reached out to me, like, what are people supposed to do? They're stuck at home with all their crap. What should they be doing? And I said, well, it's funny you should ask. They should be doing the De-Stress Your Mess Challenge. That's what they should be doing. So we got some great publicity right when the challenge first started, and that helped launch the program. But, I mean, whether you're still working from home, you're now transitioning back to leaving the home. Your home should be a place where you get to rest. When you come home, when you open the door to your house, your first reaction is like, ugh, more of the same, right? All of the stress, all of the drama from work it's a different flavor, but it's the same discomfort. When you walk into the house, you're just like, ugh. There's no relief anywhere. Out there, in here, it's all the same. It's just all of that cortisol and all of that stimulation, and I can't relax anywhere. That's what we're trying to affect, so that your home should be a sanctuary. And it doesn't have to be a luxurious 5-star spa sanctuary. It just needs to be a place where you can rest your head, get good sleep, get some exercise, eat well. And it's your nest. And so why would you want it to be someplace that causes you agitation rather than supports your resting? And that's what we're trying to jumpstart for folks, is to really start to look at your home through that lens. And again, right, I mean, if you are a glass half empty person historically, if you tend to look at things through a more negative lens, this is an opportunity to start to adjust your mindset, so that instead of seeing all of the clutter that you still have to deal with, you start to get some momentum and you start to crack open some space and you start to reclaim your home. And suddenly it doesn't feel like you're at war with your house. You're engaged in a dance with your home. And there's a hope there. There's an opportunity there, right? If currently the feeling is just, ugh, there's no place I can escape the clutter anywhere. We want to help you reclaim at least some little corner, and then you can build from there, so that you can slowly, look, if it took you, in the case of the one mom, right, 35 years to get it this way, I'd be lying. Then you should be concerned. If I told you in 5 days, 5 hours, we'll magically transform 35 years worth of clutter, that's not going to happen. What you're going to have are the tools and the mindset so that you can transform the clutter. But I would totally be a shyster if I was up here telling you, oh yeah, in 5 hours, we could take on, 35 years of accumulation and make it go like that. If I were Samantha from Bewitched, I could do that. I'm not. I'm just the most organized man in America. So yeah. I can't twinkle my nose and make stuff fly around your house and, go behind cupboards and then leave and end up in a dumpster in your driveway. You're going to have to do that, but I will coach you and support you and hold you accountable in a loving, compassionate, and very direct way, so that you can do the work that you need to do to set yourself free.
That would be cool if you could. Twitch your nose. Here's a fun question. What are some of your favorite motivational songs for decluttering sessions?
There's a Madonna song. What is it? I got something to say, and it goes like this: Don't go for second best, baby. Put yourself to the express yourself. Madonna's "Express Yourself" is one of those songs that I love. Chaka Khan's "We Can Work It Out" is one of my is a go-to upbeat song that I love. You're starting to get a sense of my vintage with my musical choices. I do love Destiny's Child. "Free Yourself" is one of the songs that I will play a lot of. So, anything that's bouncy and fun and high energy. I like the Dixie Chicks. Some of their songs also will get me moving.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's sort of like I say, when people, until they gain health or lose weight, they don't know how bad they felt. And until they have a clean environment, visually too, they don't know how wonderful it is.
Yeah.
What they can eat and how much more productive they'll be.
Yeah. You do have to, there's a certain amount of willingness to be willing, a certain amount of trust, a certain amount of faith, whatever you want to call it, to kindle enough hope to take the first steps. If you're going to sit in the place of, yeah, but that sounds great, but it won't work for me. Like, I can't pry you out of that place. AJ can't pry you out of that place, right? A mentor of mine said to me once, right, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And that was very telling, because I used to be somebody who I needed to be right more than anything. I was happy to be miserable, but to know that I was right. So alone, unhappy, and certain. Not the place I wanted to spend a lot of time once I thought about it, right? So if you are in that place where you need to believe that there's no way out. Nobody's going to convince you that there is a way out. You have built yourself a cage, and you will have to live in the cage until you're willing to believe that that cage doesn't have to hold you prisoner too. But that's some interior work that, and again, you can borrow Chef AJ's enthusiasm and her experience. You can borrow mine when it comes to clutter. There's certainly a way for you to lean on our enthusiasm and clarity and take the baby step. You just have to take the baby step. And then, as I said before, right, both a body at rest tends to stay at rest, a body in motion tends to stay in motion. And the other thing that I like to say often is failure breeds failure, success breeds success. Once you get a taste of success, it will spark your hunger for more success, right? I mean, God, if I could do that, what would happen if I did this? If I did that, what would happen if I did that? And suddenly you start to, it kindles up that hope and that possibility juju, which is a great place to be, right? I mean, look, there's always something horrible going on in the world. There's a war in Russia or Ukraine. There's people are starving. There's all kinds of stuff happening every day. We could all just lay in the fetal position, sucking our thumbs, waiting to die. And for those of us who aren't living in those circumstances, we can do what we can to help the people who are living in those circumstances and really celebrate and double down on our gratitude that in this moment, because of some peculiar circumstantial arrangement, that's not my reality today. So I would much rather focus on what I'm grateful for than what is not working in my life or what isn't working in the world. The other thing is that if you're called to do that kind of work, you'll be much more effective if you know where your keys are and your mobile phone is and your wallet is. You'll be a much better, warrior against whatever the ills of the world are that you perceive them to be if you've got your shit together and then you're able to go out and be fully present for whatever you're trying to adjust in the bigger world. But, the Dalai Lama said it, if you want to practice meditation, clean your room first. Every person will, put your oxygen mask on first. Physician, heal thyself. These sayings are all around us because you've got to take care of your own home before you're any use to anybody else. Otherwise, it's all just talk. If you can't walk your talk, then it's just words. It's just air. You've got to have the foundation to be able to be of use to people. Really, if you want to support other people in changing their lives, you have to be willing to change your own as well.
Great. Susanna asks, do you recommend working with local home organizing companies to get started, or are we better off doing it ourselves?
Well, I mean, it's a generalized question, right? I don't know who the local organizers are. There's plenty of local organizers that are awesome. And there's probably just as many that are, it's like going to a therapist. Some therapists are amazing and other therapists suck. Just because they got a PhD doesn't mean that I want to sit on a sofa and talk to them for 5 minutes, let alone 5 years. So I would encourage you to vet your local professional organizers and make sure that you are in alignment with them and that what they're going to do for you is to support you in making systematic changes. I mean, with no offense to other professional organizers, right? A chimpanzee can organize your closet from white to black with all the colors in between, short sleeves to long sleeves. It's not a very complicated task. You and changing how you think and feel and interact with stuff is really where everything happens. So the organizer in and of themselves is not the missing link, if you will. It's really you and your relationship with stuff. So if they can support you in making those kinds of changes, awesome. Otherwise, I think you're better off working with a coach like me and doing the work yourself in a supportive environment where the mindset is aligned in the direction that it needs to be. Because otherwise, again, anybody can tidy up your home, and it's like having a housekeeper. They'll clean and then they need to come back in 2 weeks. it's an awesome thing, but it's not going to stay that way without you changing how you do things. Does that make sense?
Yep. It's interesting because Susanna recently lost at least 60 pounds. And I feel like this is a parallel. She's willing to release more stuff, that doesn't serve her. Why do you think it's so hard for people to let go, Andrew?
Well, it's story. It's always the stuff behind the stuff, right? It's never the stuff. Even the woman who mentioned, right, her husband, he's clearly got some story about this stuff. It's not even his stuff. They're not his memories, but he's got such a story about what those objects mean and what her relationship to those objects mean or should mean, that he's now trapped in a story. So it's almost never the stuff. It's almost always the stuff behind the stuff, the story that we tell ourselves about these things that are keeping us stuck. So when we can bring our attention to those stories, suddenly we can start to, again, crack open some space, let some air in, see things the way they actually are instead of the way that we want them to be. And once we accept things as they actually are, we're in a position to start to make different choices.
That could be your next book, The Stuff Behind the Stuff.
Yes.
Well, Jesse says, I think Andrew is absolutely right about this. It's not the things, it's your relationships to those things. It's sort of like in life, it's not what happens to you, it's how you feel about what happens to you. Like I always think about Viktor Frankl. So you're kind of like the Viktor Frankl of organization,
Yeah, well, and I reference him all the time when I'm teaching, because that's what he discovered, right? He discovered in the camps during the Second World War that the people who faded rapidly were sometimes the strongest physically, but because they disconnected from their values, they had no reason to live any longer. So it didn't matter what physical condition they were in, their spirit died. And conversely, some of the weakest, frailest, most beat up people managed to live through living hell for years because they never lost their faith, they never lost their spirit. And so I think there's definitely something there for us all to glean from as we make these choices. Everything that I'm talking about is about making these choices in alignment with your values, that you're not, they have to be tethered to something that matters. And that's typically our core values.
Yeah. Angie, I was about to read it. It flipped. Angie says, you have to stop making excuses. Just do it. If you stumble, get right back up. Same thing when it comes to weight loss. Just do it. When you were talking about your decluttering songs, I was sure you were going to say the song to Frozen, Let It Go, Let It Go.
Oh. Yeah, I don't actually, I know the song, but yeah, no.
The perfect decluttering song, Let It Go.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, this is fun. I've been posting throughout the broadcast in the chat. It's also in the show notes. People want to sign up. It's $1, best dollar they'll ever spend.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. And also, I want to put a plug in for your book, because I listened to it while I was at Rancho, right after I met you. I made my husband get it, and we've just been making so many positive changes using your principles.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
You're
Yeah.
so welcome.
I love spending time with you, and I'm so excited that we're going to get to be at the ranch at the same time.
I know. So guys, come with us July 1 through 8, 2023, Rancho La Puerta, Andrew Mellen and Chef AJ together again.
Cooking up something special.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Andrew. This was a blast.
Thank you, Chef. Bye, everybody.
Take care. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time when we continue with Cheek Week, when athlete Robert Cheek interviews Patrick Baboubian, Germany's strongest man, who happens to be vegan. Take care.